Sufism, often called Islamic mysticism, represents the inward, spiritual dimension of Islam, a journey of purifying the heart, refining the soul, and awakening a deep awareness of Allah. It's not a separate sect of Islam but rather a spiritual science rooted within it. While mystical tendencies are observed in pre-Islamic traditions, Sufism as a path cannot be separated from Islamic belief, especially the concept of Tawhid, the oneness of God. It teaches that the human soul originates from God and longs to return to its divine source. The word Sufi likely derives from the Arabic word suf, meaning wool, reflecting the humble garments worn by early ascetics, or possibly from Ashab al-Sufa, the Prophet's companions who lived in spiritual poverty on a raised platform outside his mosque. Sufism is found among both Sunnis and Shias, although historically it has been more prevalent within Sunni Islam. Internally, it is known as tasawwuf, the practice of inward purification. Sufi roots can be traced back to the Prophet Muhammad himself, whose inner life, marked by solitude, night prayers, tears, and divine love, inspired the earliest Sufis. The Quran emphasizes sincerity, ikhlas, remembrance, dhikr, and God consciousness, taqwa, foundational pillars of the Sufi path. During the 8th century, mystically inclined Muslims, known as Zuhad, ascetics, emerged. Figures like Hassan al-Basri warned of worldly attachment and emphasized accountability before God, while Rabi' al-Adawiyya introduced the revolutionary idea of loving God for his own sake, not out of fear or desire for paradise. By the 9th century, Sufism developed its own spiritual language and practices. Mystics like Junaid of Baghdad introduced concepts like Fana, annihilation of ego, and Baqa, abiding in God, which laid the foundation of Sufi metaphysics. Around this time, spiritual brotherhoods known as tariqas began forming, with each order tracing its spiritual lineage, silsila. Back to the Prophet. These lineages were not external additions to Islam but emerged from within its spiritual core, flowing directly from the Quran, the prophetic tradition, and the lived experience of those yearning for divine intimacy. Sufis strictly uphold Islamic obligations, belief in one God, 5 daily prayers, fasting during Ramadan, but they emphasized the inner light of these actions, giving rise to a deeper, more personal Islam. A Sufi needs guidance from a master, called a sheikh, who leads the seeker through spiritual stations, maqamat, confronting the nafs, the ego. This struggle, known as jihad al-nafs, is seen as the greatest jihad, the battle within. The nafs represents the lower self, pride, greed, anger, and heedlessness. True Sufis are seekers of ma'rifah, mystical insight that transcends rational knowledge, ilm, acquired not from books, but through divine unveiling and inner realization. Love is the heart of Sufism. God is the most gracious, most merciful, and union with him is only possible when humans reflect his qualities of mercy, love, and peace. The Quran speaks directly to this with verses like Surah Arad 13:28, "Indeed, in the remembrance of Allah do hearts find rest." Thus, Sufis adopted dhikr, a practice of remembering God through phrases like Subhanallah, glory be to God, Alhamdulillah, praise be to God, La ilaha illa Allah, there is no God but Allah, and Allahu Akbar, God is greatest. Dhikr can be silent or aloud, individual or in gatherings, and in Sufism, it becomes a spiritual art that purifies the heart and deepens divine intimacy. It's not about repetition, it's about presence, love, and surrender. As this connection deepens, the Sufi approaches Fana, a state of total ego dissolution. Although the Quran doesn't explicitly mention Fana, its essence is found in verses like Surah Ar-Rum 55:26-27, "Everyone upon the earth will perish, and there will remain the face of your Lord," and Surah Al-Baqarah 2:156, "Indeed, we belong to Allah, and to Him we shall return." Fana means losing awareness of one's separate self so that only God remains. Sufis describe its stages: Fana of the ego, Fana of the will, and finally, Fana of the self in God, when illusion disappears and divine presence is all that exists. Die before you die, they say, meaning die to your ego before physical death. Sufi orders, or tariqas, guide this journey. Each has a founding master, sheikh, pir, or murshid, a silsila, unique rituals, and practices like sama, spiritual music, muraqabah, meditation, and Qalwa, spiritual retreat. For example, the Qadiriyya order stems from Abdul Qadir al-Jilani of Baghdad, and the Mevleviya from the teachings of Rumi. Each order claims baraka, spiritual blessing, passed down from the Prophet. These orders are united by one purpose: to draw closer to God through love, discipline, remembrance, and transformation. Sufi poetry and music became powerful vehicles for this expression. Love, ishq, is split into ishqi majazi, earthly love, and ishqi hakiki, divine love. Majazi love, love for people, beauty, or nature, is not wrong, it's a mirror reflecting deeper truths. Great poets like Rumi, Hafiz, and Bullek Shah use romantic metaphors to express the soul's longing for union. True love, ishqi hakiki, begins when the seeker transcends creation and yearns only for the Creator. When the veil of creation lifts, only the Creator remains to be loved. In Sufism, love is not an emotion, it's the very cause of creation. He loves them, and they love him, says the Quran 5:54. The metaphysical philosophy of Sufism teaches that all existence is one, a concept popularized by Ibn Arabi as Wadat al-Wujud, the unity of being. All creation is a reflection of God's being, multiplicity is an illusion. As the Quran says in Surah Baqarah 2:115, "Wherever you turn, there is the face of Allah," and Surah Hadid 57:3, "He is the first and the last, the manifest and the hidden." Even Surah Al-An'am 6:103 reminds us, "Vision perceives him not, but he perceives all vision." Sufism focuses on haqiqah, inner reality, rather than just sharia, outer law. And while traditional ilm gives knowledge of God's commands, Ma'rifah gives direct knowing of God's presence. It comes not through intellect but through love, purification. Today, Sufism lives on, not in the past, but in every heart that seeks. It is a path of remembrance, surrender, and divine love. It calls us to leave behind the illusions of ego, to polish the mirror of the soul, and to gaze upon the only reality that truly exists, God.